Welcome to Elevate English. Elevate your English. Elevate your life. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to the Elevate English channel. Let's start our story. Whispers through the willow tree. The village of Willowbrook was small, nestled between rolling hills and sprawling meadows. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the sun set over fields of golden wheat, and where life seemed to move at a slower, more deliberate pace. In the center of this peaceful village stood a grand old willow tree, its branches swaying gently in the wind, its leaves shimmering like emeralds in the light of the setting sun. The tree had been there for generations, a symbol of the village's history and a silent witness to the countless stories that had unfolded around it. Sophie Bennet had grown up in Willowbrook. Her childhood had been filled with long, carefree days spent playing in the meadows, climbing trees, and listening to the stories of the village elders. She had always been drawn to the old willow tree, spending countless afternoons sitting beneath its sweeping branches, sketching the landscape or reading her favorite novels. To Sophie, the tree was a place of solace and peace, a refuge from the busy world around her. But as the years passed, Sophie found herself pulled away from Willowbrook. At 18, she had left for college, her ambitions taking her to the bright lights of the city. She had dreamed of a life filled with excitement and opportunity, one where she could leave behind the quiet of her childhood village and make a name for herself. And so, she pursued a degree in architecture, throwing herself into her studies, forging a new identity far removed from the girl who had once spent so many afternoons beneath the willow tree. Yet, as the years wore on, Sophie began to feel the weight of her choices. The city, with its constant noise and rush, had begun to feel more like a cage than a place of freedom. She missed the simplicity of Willowbrook, the peaceful days, the sound of birds singing in the morning, the familiar faces of the people she had known all her life. And most of all, she missed the willow tree, which had always been her sanctuary. After 5 years of city life, Sophie made the decision to return to Willowbrook. She had earned her degree and worked for a well-known firm, but something inside her told her it was time to go back, to find peace again, to reconnect with her roots, and to rediscover the person she had been before the hustle of the city had changed her. She packed up her life and moved back to the village, hoping to find a sense of belonging that had eluded her in the busy streets of the city. Her return was met with warm welcomes and familiar faces. The village hadn't changed much, and Sophie found comfort in the routines she had once known so well. She spent her days visiting old friends, walking through the meadows, and spending hours beneath the willow tree. It felt like a homecoming, a return to herself. It was during one of these visits to the tree that Sophie met Ethan Harper. Ethan was a photographer who had recently moved to Willowbrook, seeking the peace and tranquility that the village had to offer. He had heard about the town from a fellow artist and decided to visit, drawn by the promise of its natural beauty and quiet charm. When he arrived, he found himself enchanted by the old willow tree, its branches reaching out like welcoming arms, its roots deep in the earth as if it were an ancient guardian of the village. On a sunny afternoon, Sophie sat beneath the tree, sketching the landscape as she had done so many times before. She had missed the simple joy of creating, of capturing the beauty of nature on paper. She didn't notice Ethan at first as he approached, camera in hand, but when he saw her, he was struck by the image of her sitting so serenely beneath the tree, her focus entirely on her art. The scene seemed to capture the essence of Willowbrook, quiet, peaceful, and timeless. Ethan approached her cautiously, not wanting to disturb her, but curious to meet the woman who seemed so connected to the place. "It's a beautiful day for sketching," he said, his voice gentle but carrying the warm undertones of a friendly invitation. Sophie looked up in surprise, her pencil pausing mid-stroke. She hadn't expected anyone to approach her, and for a moment, she was unsure of what to say. But something about Ethan's presence felt familiar, like he belonged in this place as much as she did. She smiled, setting her pencil down beside her. Yes, it really is. The light is perfect this time of year. Ethan smiled back, and their eyes locked for a moment. There was a quiet understanding between them, something unspoken yet powerful. I'm Ethan, he said, stepping a little closer. I'm new to Willowbrook. I'm a photographer. I came here to find some inspiration. Sophie nodded, feeling an instant connection to him. I'm Sophie. I've lived here most of my life, but I've been away for a while. Ethan raised an eyebrow in surprise. Really? Where did you go? I was living in the city, she said, her voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. But I needed a change. I think I've missed the peace of Willowbrook more than I realized. There was a brief pause as they both took in the significance of the conversation. Sophie wasn't sure why she felt so comfortable with Ethan, but there was a warmth to him, a kind of gentleness that made her feel safe. Ethan smiled warmly. Well, I'm glad you're back. I think Willowbrook has a way of bringing people home. Sophie nodded, glancing back at the tree. I agree. This tree, it's always been a place of peace for me. I can see why, Ethan said, sitting down on the grass beside her. There's something magical about this place. It feels like it's been here forever. They spent the next few hours talking, their conversation flowing easily as they shared stories of their lives, their loves, and their dreams. Sophie learned that Ethan had always been drawn to nature, to the quiet beauty of the world around him, and that he had moved to Willowbrook not only to find peace but to create a life that was more in tune with his art. He told her that he had always been fascinated by the way light played on the landscape, and how he hoped to capture that beauty in his photography. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Sophie found herself reluctant to leave the willow tree. It had always been a place where she felt connected to the world, and now, sitting there with Ethan, it felt as if she had found something she didn't even realize she had been missing, a connection with someone who understood her longing for peace, for beauty, for something deeper. I should probably be going, as Sophie said reluctantly, standing up. It's getting late. Ethan looked up at her, a hint of disappointment in his eyes. I understand. But I'm really glad we met today. Sophie smiled, feeling her heart flutter. Me too. Maybe we can meet here again tomorrow? Ethan grinned, his eyes sparkling. I'd like that. And so, the days passed. Sophie and Ethan began to spend more and more time together, often under the willow tree, talking about their dreams and ambitions, sharing their favorite books, and exploring the beauty of Willowbrook together. Their connection deepened with every moment they spent together, and soon, they both realized that they had found something special, a love that had bloomed quietly, like the petals of a flower, gently unfolding in the warmth of a summer day. As the months passed, their bond grew stronger. They worked side by side, creating art that reflected their shared love for beauty and peace. They traveled together, photographing the landscapes of Willowbrook, capturing the essence of the world around them. But no matter where they went, they always returned to the willow tree, the place where their love had begun, where the whispers of their hearts had first met. One evening, as autumn leaves began to fall and the crisp air filled the village with a sense of change, Ethan turned to Sophie beneath the willow tree. He had a small box in his hand, and his heart was racing. Sophie, he said, his voice trembling slightly. You've become my home, my peace. I never thought I would find someone like you, someone who makes me feel so understood, so connected. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Sophie's heart soared as she looked into his eyes, and with a smile that lit up her entire face, she nodded. Yes, Ethan. Yes, 1,000 times yes. And so, under the branches of the old willow tree, they promised to love each other for all their days, to cherish the peace they had found together, and to never let go of the magic they had discovered in each other's hearts. The end.